The older brother stands outside the house. Inside there is music. Inside there is food on the table. Inside, his younger brother has come home, but the older brother does not enter. He stands near the doorway, close enough to hear the celebration, but far enough to refuse it. His hands are tight. His face is hard. His father is inside the house. His brother is inside the house, but he stays outside. This is the forgotten character in the parable of the prodigal son. Most people remember the younger brother. They remember the son who left home, wasted everything, and came back broken. They remember the father running down the road. They remember the robe, the ring, the sandals, and the feast. But Jesus does not end the story there. Jesus keeps going. He takes us outside the celebration. He shows us the older brother. And the longer we stand with him, the more uncomfortable the parable becomes. Because the older brother did many things right. He stayed. He worked. He obeyed. He did not leave home. And still, when the party begins, he is the one standing outside. Luke chapter 15 tells us that Jesus gave this parable while tax collectors and sinners were drawing near to hear him. The Pharisees and scribes were watching. They were grumbling. They said, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." That is the setting. Jesus is speaking to people who are angry about grace. They see outsiders being welcomed. They see sinners coming close. They see Jesus eating with people they would have kept at a distance. So Jesus tells a story about a father and two sons. And the second son, the older one, is not an accident. He is the mirror at the end of the parable. If this helps Scripture feel clearer, subscribe to Rincora for calm Bible explainers like this. The story begins with a family. A father has two sons. The younger son comes to his father and asks for his share of the inheritance. That request is cold. Inheritance usually comes after death. So the younger son is not only asking for money, he is asking to live as if his father is already gone. He wants the father's things, but not the father's presence. The father divides the property. The younger son gathers what belongs to him. Then he leaves home. He travels to a distant country. The road takes him away from his father's house, away from his brother, away from the place where he belonged. For a while, he lives as if freedom means having no one over him. He spends what he has. He wastes the inheritance. Then the money runs out. A famine comes. The distant country becomes hard and empty. The younger son begins to hunger. He finds work feeding pigs. For Jesus' Jewish audience, that detail would have felt low and painful. The son who left his father's table now stands near pigs, hungry enough to desire their food. Then the text says, he came to himself. He remembers his father's house. He remembers that even the hired servants there have bread. So he prepares a speech. He will go home. He will confess. He will say he is no longer worthy to be called a son. He will ask to be treated like a hired servant. He is not expecting a party. He is not expecting honor. He only wants to survive. So he begins the road home. Picture him walking back, dust on his feet, hunger in his body, a rehearsed speech in his mouth. He is still a long way from the house when his father sees him. That detail matters. The father sees him while he's still far off. The father has been looking down the road, and when he sees him, he runs. He does not wait on the porch. He does not make the son crawl back. He runs to him. He embraces him. He kisses him. The son begins his speech. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father does not let the speech become the center of the moment. He turns to the servants. He calls for the best robe. He calls for a ring. He calls for sandals. He calls for a feast. The son came home hoping to be a servant. The father receives him as a son. The house fills with movement. Servants prepare the celebration. Food is brought. Music begins. The father says his son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And the celebration begins. This is where many people stop the story. The lost son came home. The father welcomed him. Grace won. But Jesus does not stop there. He moves the camera away from the feast. He takes us out to the field. The older son is working. He is not in the house when the celebration starts. He is out in the field. He has been doing what he has always done. Working, serving, staying, doing the responsible thing. Then he comes near the house. He hears music. He hears dancing. He stops. Something is happening inside, and no one has told him. So he calls one of the servants. He asks what these things mean. The servant tells him the news. Your brother has come home. Your father has killed the fattened calf because he received him back safe and sound. The older brother hears the explanation. His brother is back. His father is celebrating. The house is full of joy, and the older brother becomes angry. He refuses to go in. That is the quiet line where the whole parable turns. He refuses to go in. The door is open. The music is playing. The father is rejoicing. The younger brother is alive, but the older brother will not cross the threshold. He stays outside. Notice what the father does. The same father who ran down the road to meet the younger son now comes out of the house to meet the older son. The father goes out to both sons. He goes out to the one who left, and he goes out to the one who stayed. He meets the younger son on the road. He meets the older son outside the party. That is important. The older brother is angry, but the father does not ignore him. The father does not send a servant to scold him. The father comes outside himself. He pleads with him. Now the older brother speaks. All the years of stored resentment come out at once. He says, "Look, these many years I have served you. I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me even a young goat, so I could celebrate with my friends." Then he speaks about his brother. But he does not call him my brother. He says this son of yours. That phrase matters. He is standing outside the house, and in his heart he has already stepped away from the family table. He does not say, "My brother came home." He says, "This son of yours came home." He separates himself from the joy. He separates himself from the relationship. He sees the younger son as someone who took, wasted, returned, and received, and to the older brother, it feels unfair. We need to slow down here, because his anger is understandable. He stayed home. He worked. He obeyed. He watched the younger son leave with the inheritance. He watched the father grieve. He kept showing up in the field. He kept doing the work. And now the brother who left gets the feast. The older brother is not confused about the facts. He knows what happened. He knows his brother wasted the property. He knows the return came after failure. He knows the party is expensive. His pain is real. But the text also shows what is happening inside him. He has begun to see his years with the father as slavery. He says, "These many years I have served you." The word carries the feeling of labor, burden, duty, and debt. He has lived in the father's house, but he has experienced the house like a place of work. He has been near the father every day, but he has started to think like a hired servant. He obeyed, but joy left the obedience. He stayed, but resentment grew in the staying. He worked, but he kept a record, and now the record is in his hands. Every long day, every command obeyed. Every party he thinks he never received. Every wrong thing his brother did. It is all there. He is not just angry about the feast. He is angry about what he thinks the feast says about his own life. He thinks the father has overlooked him. He thinks his faithfulness has not mattered. He thinks grace for his brother means neglect for him. Then the father answers. His first word is tender. Son, not servant, not worker, not angry man. Son. The father reminds him who he is before he corrects what he sees. Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. That line is quiet, but it is heavy. The older son thought he had been waiting for reward. The father says he had been living inside inheritance. He thought he had been overlooked. The father says he had been near him the whole time. He thought the party meant his brother was loved more. The father says the relationship was already his. All that is mine is yours. The older brother had the father's presence every day. He had the house, he had the field, he had the nearness. He had access to the father's heart. but resentment had made him unable to enjoy what was already his. The father does not deny the younger son's failure. He does not pretend nothing happened. He does not tell the older brother that his obedience was meaningless. He simply says the celebration is fitting. Your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. The father is not saying the younger son earned the feast. He is saying return from death calls for joy. A lost son found again calls for celebration. The party is not a payment. It is a response to restoration. That is where the parable becomes personal. Because many people know the older brother's feeling. You can be faithful and still feel unseen. You can stay and still feel forgotten. You can serve for years and still wonder if anyone noticed. You can watch someone else receive mercy and feel something bitter rise in you. Not because grace is wrong, but because their grace seems louder than your faithfulness. That is the older brother moment, and Jesus does not treat it lightly. He lets the older brother speak. He lets the anger come into the open. He lets the father answer him outside the house. But then Jesus does something surprising. He ends the story without telling us what the older brother chooses. We do not see him enter. We do not see him walk away. We do not see him embrace his brother. We do not see him stay in the dark. The parable ends at the doorway. The father has spoken. The music is still inside. The older brother is still outside. And the choice is still open. That open ending is deliberate. Jesus is telling this parable to people who are watching sinners come close to him. They are outside the joy of grace, even while they are standing near the work of God. They know Scripture. They know obedience. They know the language of faithfulnesses. But they are angry that Jesus receives sinners and eats with them. So Jesus gives them the older brother. He gives them a man who stayed home but still missed the Father's heart, a man who obeyed but could not rejoice, a man who was invited but remained outside. The ending asks the hearers a question. Will you come in? Will you share the table with people who came home broken? Will you rejoice when mercy reaches someone you think does not deserve it? Will you trust the Father's love when someone else's restoration feels unfair? Jesus does not force the answer. He leaves the door open. That is mercy too. The older brother is not cast out. He's invited. The father is outside with him. The house is open. The table has room. The music can still be heard. Now bring the parable close. Maybe you know what it feels like to be the older brother. Maybe you have carried responsibility quietly. Maybe you have stayed faithful in a family, a church, a friendship, or a season where other people left. Maybe you have done the right thing for a long time. And maybe, somewhere along the way, obedience started to feel like a contract. You did your part. You waited for the reward. You expected the Father to notice in a way you could measure. Then someone else came home after wasting everything, and grace met them quickly. And something in you said, "What about me?" That question is not fake. It is not small. But the Father's answer is deeper than comparison. Son, you are always with me. All that is mine is yours. The father is not asking the older son to pretend he was not hurt. He is not asking him to erase the younger brother's choices. He is inviting him to stop letting resentment keep him outside the joy of the house. That is the danger. Not that the older brother had feelings, not that he noticed unfairness, not that he needed a conversation. The danger is that his resentment could make him miss the Father standing right in front of him. The danger is that he could be so focused on his brother's party that he forgets his own place as a son. The danger is that he could stay outside a house that was always his home. Faithfulness is good. The Father does not condemn faithfulness. The parable does not mock the son who stayed. The question is what the faithfulness was becoming. Was it love or was it a ledger? Was it relationship or was it a record? Was he serving as a son near the Father or working like a servant waiting to be paid? That question matters. It is possible to do the right things while the heart slowly moves away from joy. It is possible to stay in the house and still feel far from the Father. It is possible to obey and still become bitter. So the parable invites us to look honestly, not with shame, with clarity. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I with the Father because I love being with Him? Or am I building a case for what I think I am owed? The older brother's pain comes into the open at the edge of the party. But maybe we can ask the question earlier. Before the music starts, before the resentment hardens, before we find ourselves outside the door. The Father's invitation is still gentle. Come inside, not because your pain does not matter, not because your faithfulness meant nothing, not because your brother earned the feast. Come inside because the Father is there. Come inside because resurrection calls for joy. Come inside because the table is not smaller when grace reaches someone else. Come inside because all that is mine is yours. This is why the older brother matters. He is not only a side character. He is the person many faithful people recognize when they are honest. He is the one who did not run away, but still needed the Father to come find him. He is the one standing near the house, but not yet inside the joy. He is the one whose ending remains open. The younger brother came home from a distant country. The older brother has to come home from the field outside the party. Both sons need the Father. Both sons are pursued. Both sons are invited into joy. One came back covered in failure. Another stood outside covered in resentment. The Father went out to both. That is the heart of the parable. Grace runs down the road. Grace also steps outside the party. Grace meets the rebel. Grace pleads with the rule keeper. Grace restores the son who wasted everything. Grace invites the son who thought obedience made him owed. And at the end, the door is still open. The music is still playing. The Father is still speaking. The older brother is still standing there. And the question is still waiting. Will he come inside? Will you? As you sit with this parable, what do you notice most? The younger brother coming home? The father running down the road? The older brother refusing to enter? Or the Father coming outside to invite him in? And have you ever felt like the older brother, faithful but unseen? What helped you find your way back to the table?